Welcome to the JP8 report. This is James Pierce with the JP8 report, episode 272. FBI arrests suspected J6 pipe bomber. All right, guys. I'll be looking over my shoulder more and more during this podcast because there's breaking news. Because as we speak, they're waiting to have some type of news conference on the guy they finally arrested from 5 years ago, almost 5 years ago. But before we get to that now, hey, I'm not teasing everyone, but hey, so there's supposed to be a news conference in a little while, and I'm going to talk about this. I've already done a couple of podcasts on this pipe bomber because I'm one of those P1 listeners for Dan Bongino before he left to become deputy director. So I'm pretty familiar with what's going on, but I still got my other stuff I have to do with the podcast. But this is going to be the first thing that we're talking about. All right. Welcome to the J6. Welcome to the JP8 report. And if you are not already a follower to the JP8 report, I invite you to click that follow button and then give us a like with that thumbs up button, and please share. We just received our 100th follower. That's awesome. I appreciate it. I recognized her yesterday during the podcast. But if you wouldn't mind, click that follow button. And if you're new to the podcast, what I do every single day is I go over America 250 events. So today I'm going to be going over December 4th, 1775, and then we'll go into the rest of the what do you call it? JPA report. Man, I got too much stuff going on right now. Alrighty. So first is a letter from General Washington to John Hancock about a smallpox outbreak that was caused by the British. All right. And this is about 3 pages long. Sir, I had the honor of writing you the 30th to include our inventory of military stores taken on board the brig Nancy by Captain Manley of the armed schooner Lee. I have now to inform you that he has since sent into Beverly a ship named Concord, James Louis Master from Greenock in Scotland, bound to Boston. She has on board dry goods and coals to the value of 3,606 pounds, shipped by Crawford Anderson and Company, co-signed to James Anderson, merchant in Boston. It is mentioned in the letters found on board that this cargo was for the use of the Army, but on a strict examination I found it is really the property of the shippers and the person to whom co-signed. Pray, what it is to be done with the ship and cargo, and what with the brig which brought the military stores. It was agreed in the conference last October that all vessels employed merely as transports and unarmed, and with their crews to be set at liberty upon given security to return to Europe, but that this indulgence not to be extended longer than till the 1st of April next. In the shipper's letter they mentioned you must procure a certificate from the general and the admiral of the Concords being in government service, such as the Glasgow packet brought with her, which was of great service, procured a liberty to arm her, which was refused us. Also gave her a preference for some recruits that went out in her. In another part of their letter, they say Captain Lowry will deliver you the contract for the coals. We gave it to him, and it perhaps might be of use as a certificate of the ship being employed by the government service. Every letter on board breathes nothing but enmity to this country, and a vast number of them there are. It is some time since I recommended to Congress but that they would institute a court for the trial of prizes made by the Continental armed vessels, which I hope that they have here now have taken into their consideration. Otherwise, I should again take the liberty of urging it to the most pressing manner. The scandalous conduct of a great number of Connecticut troops has laid me under the necessity of calling in a body of the militia much sooner than I apprehended there would be on occasion for such a step. I was afraid some time to go that they would incline to go home when the time of their enlistment expired. I called upon the officers of several regiments to know whether they could prevail on the men to remain until the 1st of January or until a sufficient number of the forces could be raised to supply their place. I suppose they were deceived themselves. I know they deceived me by assurances that I need be under no apprehension on that the score for the men would not leave the lines. Last Friday showed how much they were mistaken, as the major part of the troops of that colony were going away with their arms and ammunition. They have, however, by threats, persuasion, and the activity of the people of the country, who sent back many of them that had set would set out, prevailed upon the most part to stay. There are about 80 of them missing. I have called in 3,000 men from this province, and General Sullivan, who later returned from the province of New Hampshire, having informed me that a number of men were there ready to at the shortest notice. I have demanded 2,000 from that province. These two bodies and I have expected to be in by the 10th to make up the deficiency of the Connecticut men, who have promised to dismiss on that day, as well as numbers to whom I was obliged to grant furloughs before any would enlist. I have the same defection. It is much to be apprehended, but the time of the Massachusetts Bay, New Hampshire, and Rhode Island forces are expired. I beg the attention of Congress to this important affair. I am informed that this has been the custom of these provinces in the last war for the legislative power in order every town to provide a certain quota of men for the campaign. This or some other mode should be at present adopted, as I am satisfied the men cannot be had without this. The Congress will please to make into their immediate consideration my suspicions on the head. I shall also communicate to the governors Trumbull and Cook. Also, let me see, I got breaking news here. Okay. An express has come to an express is just come in from General Schuyler. He's up in Quebec, with letters from Colonel Arnold and General Montgomery, copies of which I have the honor to enclose you. Upon the whole, and think the affairs carry a pleasing aspect in that quarter. The reduction of Quebec is an object of such great importance that I doubt not the Congress will give every assistance in their power for accomplishing it this winter. By the last accounts, the armed schooners sent to the river St. Lawrence I fear we will have but little expect from them. They are falling short of provision and mention that they would be obliged to return, which at this time is particularly unfortunate, as if they chose a proper station, all the vessels coming down the river must fall into their hands. The plague, trouble, and vexation I have had with the crews of all armed vessels is inexpressible. I do believe it is not on earth, but more disorderly set. Every time they come into port, we hear nothing but mutinous complaints, mainly success, but lately quieted this people. The crews of the Washington and Harrison have actually deserted them, so I have been under the necessity of ordering the agent to lay up the ladder up and get hands for the other on the best of terms he could. The House of Representatives and the Honorable Board have sent me a note of theirs relative to the harbor of Cape Cod, which you have herewith. I shall send an officer thither to examine what can be done for this defense. I do not think I shall be able to give them such assistance as it may be requisite, for I have at present neither men, powder, or cannon to spare. And then this is the bad part. The great want of powder is what is attention of Congress should be particular applied to. That I do not attempt anything offensive. Let the temptation or advantage be ever so great as I have not more than the most essential article to be absolute necessary to defend our lines should the enemy attempt to attack them. By recent information from Boston, General Howe is going to send out a number of the inhabitants in order, it is thought, to make more room for expected reinforcements. There is one part of the information I can hardly believe to give credit to. A sailor says that a number of these coming out have been inoculated with design of spreading the smallpox through this country and camp. I have communicated this to the General Court and recommend their attention thereto. They are arming one of the transports in Boston, which they mean to decoy some of our armed vessels, as we are apprised of their design. I hope they will be disappointed. My best respects wait upon the gentlemen in Congress, and I am, sir, your most humble and obedient servant, General George Washington. And P.S. Remember, he loves to do P.S.s. I was misinformed that I mentioned that one regiment had arrived at Boston. A few companies of the 17th and artillery are here, were all about yet come. Near 300 persons are landed on Point Shirley from Boston. But the one thing I wanted to point out about this letter was the part about General Howe attempting to spread smallpox through the Continental Army. People talk about modern-day biological warfare. 250 years ago, it was just as prevalent as it is these days. So that's America 250 moment for December 4th, 1775. Right now, the president is talking about Congo and Rwanda. Okay, so now we got the Dalmatian Burger Group right here in Copper's Cove. They make homemade smash burgers. They're actually really good. All their ingredients are homemade, and they including their hot dogs and their buns. And they're open 11 to 2 and 5:30 to 7, Tuesday through Sunday. They're located on the west side of Copper's Cove behind Bush's Chicken. So give them a try. You see the menu that's on here. I keep putting it up, keep making myself hungry. All right. So, next, I'm going to talk about the pipe bomber. All right. So, the first thing I want to show you is so we got the pipe bomber right here. It's a $500,000 reward that was issued for this guy, right? And if you could tell, a lot of indications were on the shoes themselves. And then pipe bombs, kitchen timers, everything homemade about it, right? Well, evidently this morning, they took into custody a guy named Brian Cole Jr. He's 30 years old. He lives in Woodbridge. If you were looking at pictures that were on TV, it looks like a well-to-do home. So they're not saying too much right now, but I do know it's been almost 5 years. A couple of things, I don't know. I'm going to read a newspaper article in just a second about it. But these bombs were set January 5th, 2021, at the RNC and the DNC, Republican National Committee and Democrat National Committee. Both bombs were found. The DNC bomb was found in the morning time. Nancy Pelosi's motorcade had just 30 minutes prior to the discovery of the pipe bomb had already just driven past it. And then at the time of the discovery of the pipe bomb at the DNC, Vice President-elect Kamala Harris was actually inside the DNC headquarters. I don't know why, since she was a sitting senator, why she was even in there. She should have been at the the Senate chambers, counting the electoral votes. To me, that has not been answered yet. Why they were interrogating that explosive, why they didn't evac her out the back and get her to safety, right? Even though Joe Biden was still the vice president, and Mike Pence was still the vice president, and Donald Trump was still the president. She still needed to be protected because she was VP elect, right? And then they said within 2 months after the change of administration, Chris Wray directed resources elsewhere and stopped and put this on hiatus, so it wasn't gaining much attention until after the current administration, President Trump and Vice President Vance, along with Kash Patel, and then Dan Bongino and Pam Bondi, it ramped up. And if you listen to Dan Bongino, you would know that this was personal to him. Considering he used to be a Secret Service agent, this was extremely personal. And it should have been solved a long time ago. You look at that house they've been showing on TV. This guy was 30 years old, lived in a 2-car garage frame house in Woodbridge. Where in the world was he working, or was he still living at home? Okay. Like I said, I'm going to keep looking over this way. So this is off the New York Post. The suspect arrested Thursday morning in connection with the planting of the pipe bombs outside the DNC and RNC on the eve of January 6, 2021. Capitol riot might have been anarchist leanings, federal law enforcement sources told the Post. Federal agents swarmed Woodbridge, Virginia, home of Brian Cole. Following a break in the case that has been vexed and embarrassed the FBI for nearly 5 years. It was not immediately clear what charges Cole would face or investigators have not gone public with any suspected motive. Calls to relatives of Coles listed on public records were not immediately returned, but neighbors in the suburban cul-de-sac described the young man who kept to himself and doted on a pet chihuahua. He is very antisocial, very. One neighbor told the Post of Cole he keeps to himself. He has a dog that he loves. That this person added, he walks every day, twice a day, to 7-Eleven with his dog and wears his headphones. He seems to be very quiet. He could not make eye contact, almost like he just didn't want to see you, added a second neighbor who noted that Cole would wear shorts all winter long and red Crocs. I'm pretty shocked, the person said. This is a very uncommonly friendly and neighborly place to live. The arrest comes 1 month before the 5th anniversary of the melee that briefly delayed the congressional confirmation of Vice President Joe Biden's 2020 victory. Surveillance footage showed a person carrying a backpack and wearing a gray hooded sweatshirt, mask, gloves, glasses, and a pair of Nike Air Max Speed Turf sneakers, who planted what investigators call a viable explosive devices at the headquarters of two major parties on the night of January 5th. A second neighbor said that they doubted Cole was the person recorded planting the bombs, claiming the suspect had uncommonly short legs and a simple gait analysis could rule him out, confirm him as the culprit. See, they're already building inconsistency. That's what they're trying. The devices were discovered in the following morning, approximately 17 hours later, around the time Congress convened around the 2020 electoral votes. Then Vice President Kamala Harris and former Speaker Nancy Pelosi both came within feet of the devices as they traveled to and fro the DNC headquarters on South Capitol Street. In Pelosi's case, her motorcade drove past one of the bombs after it was discovered by law enforcement, according to congressional report that blamed law enforcement for failing to adequately secure the perimeter. That is discouraging. That should have never happened. She's a former speaker, but she's still a sitting House of Representatives person. I don't know what they were thinking when they did that, and I wish this paper would come apart. Okay. The report released January of this year by a couple of congressmen assessed a little meaningless progress has been made, despite a promising array of data and numerous persons of interest, the lawmakers reported. Let's see, there's not too much more to this. The FBI and Justice Department didn't immediately respond to requests for comment by the Post, and then the FBI Deputy Director Dan Bongino suggested last year on his popular podcast before joining the Bureau that the act was an inside job and involved a massive cover-up. After leaving, after arriving at the Bureau in March, Bongino made the case a top priority, writing on X, we have brought in new personnel to take a look at the case, and we flew in police officers and detectives working at task force officers to review FBI work. You know, we're going to find out a whole lot more by the end of the day of what happened with that bomber, with that pipe bomber, right? Providing it is the right person, and I'm pretty sure it is. So, you know, just think, January 6th of 2021, before the protests started happening, they found these two pipe bombs, and nothing was done about it. And like they said in the report I was just reading, Nancy Pelosi, her motorcade drove right by it after it was identified as an explosive, and they still let her drive by it. And they capped Kamala Harris inside the DNC after they discovered it instead of evacuating her. What if that pipe bomb would have exploded and damaged the building that she was in? And because they didn't know how explosive it was. So what if she would have been injured or killed if that thing would have detonated? A lot of questions that need to be answered. Why did Chris Wray write off the investigation? Why did Merrick Garland allow it to just to go away? I mean, there's a lot of stuff that needs to be answered. Why did it take Trump coming back in office for them to find the perpetrator that placed these two bombs? Stuff, it just does not add up. It doesn't add up. Nothing. I actually turned the closed captions on the TV, so if something happened, we would be able to read the headlines. So on the rest of the JP8 report, Darrell Issa, I just saw this about 30 minutes ago. Congressman Darrell Issa, he's going to, like I said, if y'all have ever watched Top Gun Maverick, when, what's his name? Goose's son. Anyone know? Is it Rooster? He said, it's not the plane, it's the pilot. Well, you know what? Same thing goes in politics sometimes. It's not the boundaries. It's the person running for office. If he knows how to run for office, he can get reelected. He's just got to do it the right way. And Darrell Issa is very, very, very experienced and knows how to get the job done. And he's going to take a chance to see if he can get reelected in California. There was rumors that he was going to try to move the Texas and run for election here, but he's doing the right thing. So Darrell Issa, the 48th Congressional District in California, is going to attempt to go up against Proposition 50 and try to get reelected. Good luck, sir. Good luck. All right. So what do we got going on here? Let me get a drink of water here. Or tea. We're already 28 minutes into the podcast. Unbelievable. Alrighty. So, let's see what we got here. House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries finally gave some credit to Trump. He is quoted as saying, "Of course, he'll get credit for that," unquote. And that's what he said about securing the border. He said that yesterday. So, finally, credit is going where credit is due. And President Trump, with everything he's doing with everyone in his administration, especially Tom Homan and Kristi Noem, about securing the border, and everyone in ICE and the Border Patrol, Homeland Security, they're doing a great job securing our homeland. There's a lot of work. They were saying over 2 million people have self-deported already out of our country, and we're kicking out thousands more. So that's good. Thank you, Mr. Minority Leader. May you always stay the minority leader. I don't care. So he finally gave credit to the president for doing some work. Next is staying in California. Halle Berry. She was on TV, and she was, where was she at? Okay, whatever. Halle Berry called out California Gavin Newscum while delivering a speech about how women are viewed in Hollywood and across America. Berry took the stage at Dealbook Summit Wednesday and spoke about how women are devalued, particularly after they reach a certain age. The Catwoman star drew gasps from the audience when making her pointed comments and referencing Newscum. According to the Hollywood Reporter, at this stage in my life, I have 0 F's left to give, Barry told the crowd. Back in my great state of California, my very own governor, Gavin Newsom, who was actually in attendance when she was talking, has vetoed our menopause bill, not once, but 2 years in a row. But that's okay, because he's not going to be governor forever, and the way he has overlooked women, half the population, by devaluating us, he probably should not be our next president either. Just saying. So it was talking about Bill AB 432. It's about expanding training in healthcare for women of menopause age, and that he said it would greatly expand the cost of healthcare too much. But these are women going through menopause, and we know it's a big step in our lives, and our bodies change. Us guys, we usually grow outward, but they change inward, and they just need some really good medical advice and treatment by going through this. And he vetoed it multiple times, and like she said, he shouldn't be president, so he won't be president either. Okay, so then got another article here. I mean, do people agree with that? That'd be nice to know. If you have any comments, put them on the live chat. It's only temporary because the live chat goes away after the actual podcast is over, or you can just leave me a hard comment. Okay. Matter of fact, I'll just write it in the comments. Comments are appreciated. There you go. I left a comment for everyone. And go back to live chat. All right. So James Bosberg, he's the idiotic judge that keeps thumbing his nose at President Trump, actually changed his mind yesterday, and actually is going to refund the restitution that 2 people had to pay for stuff that they did on J6. It made it sound like he did a great thing, but he lost in an appeals court, and that he has to do it anyway. So it says, Boasberg on Wednesday ordered 2 J6 defendants pardoned by President Trump to be refunded in full for restitution payments made and fines occurred as part of their earlier criminal cases. It was a reversal from months earlier when the same judge rejected their bid for repayment. Boasberg used a memo order Wednesday, to outline the fairly complex case history for Cynthia Ballinger and her husband, Christopher Price, both of whom had been tried and convicted of misdemeanor charges in connection with events on J6, in order to pay hundreds of dollars in assessment fees and restitution. And then Boasberg's order effectively clears the way for the government to refund them both in full. The new decision, he said, is the result of an appeals court decision, as well as the timing of Trump's pardon, which came at the same time as the case had been pending appeal before the D.C. Circuit. All right, so we know the appeals court made that decision, and he had to comply. He didn't do nothing good. He was forced to do this. All right. He's still a knucklehead. He needs to be impeached. Where's my pencil at? So I don't lose track of where I'm at on my. Let's see that. We got that and that done. Any breaking news yet? Nope. They're just saying news conferences soon. Let's see. Did I miss something? Nope. There it is. I got it out of order. All right. So, nope. There it is right there. So, as we know, last week was Thanksgiving week. We know what happened on Wednesday, right, in D.C. We know what happened in Fort Worth the day prior to that, right? But also on the 24th, see, Thanksgiving was the 27th, 26th, it's Wednesday, 25th, Monday the 24th, another Muslim was arrested, right? He was arrested in Delaware. He was from Pakistan. So we had 2 Afghans and a Pakistani in a course of 3 days, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. The guy on Monday, they got arrested, Pakistan immigrant and University of Delaware student, was arrested with a cache of guns, ammo, body armor, and a manifesto allegedly explaining plans to kill all and achieve martyrdom with a mass shooting on a school's campus. Luqman Khan, 25 years old, was arrested just before midnight on the 24th after cops found him in the back of his pickup truck, so it'd be Monday night. After cops found him in his pickup truck in a park after hours and decided to search the car when he began acting suspiciously. What they alleged found inside it was alarming: a .357 Glock pistol, numerous 27-round magazines, body armor plates. The pistol was even fitted with a kit which converted it into a semi-automatic rifle, according to prosecutors. And they found a notebook filled with handwritten notes detailing a plot to use the weapons to shoot up his former school's campus police department, with a map of the headquarters drawn out and marked with plans, entrances, and exit points. It included phrases like "kill all," "martyrdom" throughout. AB6 reported details how to evade capture after the planned shooting, and explained how a number of other weapons could be used. The police said were all premeditated assault plans and obvious warfare techniques. The full motivation behind the alleged attack remains unclear, but Khan allegedly told police after his arrest he was becoming a martyr was one of the greatest things you can do. And one police officer was named in the plans, but it remains unknown why. And Khan was born in Pakistan, but has lived in the U.S. since he was a youth, and is an American citizen. After the arrest, the FBI raided Khan's Wilmington home and found that the arsenal in his truck was just beginning. An AR-style rifle equipped with the red dot scope was found in the home, along with a second Glock pistol, and this one equipped with the device that converted it to a fully automatic machine gun capable of shooting 1,200 rounds per minute. 11 other extended magazines were also found, as were deadly hollow point bullets and a bulletproof vest. None of the weapons found in Khan's possession were registered, which means he bought them off the street and didn't go and get the nicks done on it. So who sold him the weapons? Neighbors told investigators that Khan was friendly in the past and had become oddly standoffish in recent months, but had no criminal record prior to his arrest. And he's behind bars right now. When are we going to learn? When are we going to... Every one of these people from Pakistan and Afghanistan had ill leanings toward our country. The guy was a U.S. citizen, naturalized, but nobody's saying anything. He's probably living at home. I don't know where he got the money for the weapons, right? Why didn't anyone report him? He wrote out a manifesto. So he was the guy on Wednesday yelling Al Akbar while he was shooting at the National Guardsmen. The guy in Fort Worth was going to blow up a building. We need to take the initiative and get this solved. And we don't need liberal-minded people protecting these other people as they trying to kill Americans. How many people would he have killed at the University of Delaware if he had not got stopped by the police in Wilmington Monday night? How many? We're just setting ourselves up for failure. Admiral Bradley got a JAG opinion before he did the second strike in the Caribbean Sea off of Trinidad and Tobago when they struck that drug boat. And the deal was that the survivors on that boat were attempting to recover the drugs and put them back in the boat and proceed toward their port with the drugs to resell or redistribute. They were not stragglers or survivors in a shipwreck. They were attempting to proceed with their illegal goods, and they were legitimate targets. So this scandal that they're talking about is just a scam to embarrass the president and Pete Hegseth, the Secretary of War. They had complete authority to do what they do. The law of armed conflict, they followed it and they executed it. To me, I won't even get there, but Dems keep voicing support for narco terrorists. Think they got Trump derangement syndrome still. There's a lot that we need to figure out what's going on, but they need to be able to let the commander-in-chief do his job to protect our country. And then over the last 4 or 5 years, we've been averaging about 100,000 people overdosing drugs every single year due to fentanyl being planted on these drugs, right? And they're dying. Our kids are dying. Our relatives are dying. Our friends are dying. And we got these people that are in charge or attempting to be in charge, that they are doing everything in their power to be able to prevent President Trump from doing what we elected him to do, is to enforce the law and protect our borders, just like Hakeem Jeffries said a while ago. He deserves credit for securing the border. If you didn't hear, those drug boats have all but disappeared off in the Caribbean because the drug cartels have figured out that we know where they are, and we're going to blow them to smithereens. And if it takes sinking the boat with the people on them and destroying the drugs, that's what we're going to do. You know, they're going to run out of boats sooner or later, or people to pilot those boats. I know they're not taking those boats all the way to Miami from Venezuela, because it's a long way to go. They're going to run out of fuel. So they're hopping at different islands. So either they're surveilling those islands so they know when those boats are leaving Venezuela, and they can interdict them in the middle of the sea and do their job, right? But Admiral Bradley did the job right and consulted with the JAG attorney about the authority to be able to strike the target a second time, and he did. All right? Enough of that matter. Let the president do what the president was elected to do, to protect us. Because we may not be doing the drugs, our kids may not be doing the drugs, but if someone else is doing the drugs, and it happens over and over again, where they're driving down the road and they cause an automobile accident and take people's lives, or they're breaking into people's houses to steal money, which causes the crime rate to go up. And, they could try to break in my house, and, they're going to get a little bit more than what they bargained for. So Kash Patel just said, it reveals how relentless police work by FBI nabbed the D.C. pipes bomb suspect, leaving the $5,000 reward untouched. Well, I guess nobody got rich. Wow. Okay. Wow, that's a wow. Because that was a lot of money. There was a lot of money left on the table there. We're going to leave this one out over here. I'll go to my next one. Matt Von Epps was sworn in to Congress either this morning or yesterday evening, which leaves only 2 vacancies left in Congress. And so it's 220 to 213 is the spread. 220 Republicans, 213 Democrats. I know Sylvester Turner's seat is still vacant. He was the Democrat from the Houston area that passed away. And I don't know when his election is, or they already had it. Now, I think they have a runoff they were doing on it. And let's see, who was the other one? If you know who the other congressional person was that caused the vacancy, leave it in the chat, okay? But Matt Van Epps was sworn in as congressman for the 7th Tennessee District, Congressional District. Congratulations, sir. Another deal about the Secretary of War. We all remember at the beginning of the administration where they struck some Houthis, and they were using a signal as a communication device, and someone allowed an unauthorized person into their encrypted chat session. And while we all know now that he shouldn't have been using it, or nobody should have been using it, they did find him as causing a risk, but he had the right to declassify it, so he could say what he wanted, right? But so they said this is a training session that people should reflect on later. So what it put out, and I got this from AP News, the Pentagon's watchdog found that Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth Well, because they don't call him the Secretary of War with the AP, put U.S. personnel and their mission at risk when he used the Signal messaging app to convey sensitive information about a military strike against Yemen Houthi militants. Two people familiar with the findings said Wednesday. Hexef, however, has the ability to declassify material, and the report did not find he did so improperly. According to one of the people familiar with the findings who spoke on the condition of anonymity to discuss the information. That person also said the report concluded that Hexef violated Pentagon policy by using his personal device, true, for official business. That's why you don't commingle your devices. And it is recommended better training for all Pentagon officials. Always room for improvement, always room for training. And they learned a very valuable lesson. I hope they did, and hope everybody around them did the same thing. I found out that Signal was being used even around here at Fort Hood between sections and squads, and like I told one of my friends, like they shouldn't be using it in the first place, right? So that should be over unless some congressman wants to stir up a hornet's nest again. Maybe we'll look in their past. They're doing the briefing now, so I'm going to have to watch that briefing later on. Let's see. What time is it? Okay, we're doing good still. So, cafe standards. The president yesterday had like a 2 hour. He had a cabinet meeting, and then if I got it right, then he had a meeting in the Oval Office like 1 o'clock in the afternoon, which talked about cafe standards, which he was rescinding everything that was put into place by the Biden administration to lower the cost of vehicles throughout our country. He signed off on, because Sean Duffy reiterated it back to the president, that little automatic switch that you can turn on and off. So when you stop at a stop sign or a stop light or step on your brakes, the engine turns off until you motion forward and it turns back on your engine. Well, that's been taken away. So in future models won't have that in there unless someone does some type of legislation forcing it to. They've changed their emission standards, changed the required miles per gallon on fleet size vehicles, like the whole fleet of small pickups or whole fleet of medium sized pickups and stuff. And all that is to be able to save approximately $109 billion for American families. I didn't say 109 million, I said 109 billion, right? So they had people from Ford and Stellantis and General Motors, one of their plant managers, talk yesterday, and they were all also talking about a super compact sedan that used to not be able to be sold in the United States, and I think they said it was made by Honda or something like that, or let me see. I wish I would have wrote that down, but I don't see it in here. Let's put it like this. The internal combustion engine is back, okay? And we're allowed to use it, which is good, right? So the problem is with affordability, is what a lot of people are talking about. The average price of a new car, is $50,000 to drive it off the car lot. And people are now financing cars 7 and I think sometimes 8 years long. You're looking at now the base price of a new car is $50,000. There are price of cars, regular cars. I'm not talking about Bentleys and Rolls and Cadillacs, Corvettes. I'm talking about regular cars, Silverados, Dodge Rams, stuff like that, right? Um, they're costing $80,000 and $90,000. My house, I bought my house here for $170,000. So I could be looking at a brand new vehicle in my driveway, right? And that little piece of 7 foot wide by 8 foot long or 9 foot long car cost about half of my house, which that vehicle will only last approximately. Most people keep their car, don't even pay off their cars; they trade them in, right? They last about 10 years, 15 years. My pickup truck right now that I bought for $33,000 back in 2007, it's got 220,000 miles on it. It's paid off, but most people don't do that, and mine is, and our other vehicles more than halfway paid off already. But you're looking at half your house for a little bitty vehicle. That's unbelievable, right? So hopefully things are changing that allow them to be able to lower the cost of vehicles. And they did say, those manufacturers, that more and more vehicles are being brought back to be made inside the United States, including that GM plant manager was talking about pickup trucks are being made inside the United States again and not down in Mexico and Canada. That's really encouraging. Let's see. One thing I was going to mention, I'm not going to really read too much about, is the deal happening up in Minnesota. Before I go forward, but it's been a while since I've mentioned it. If you're listening, please go ahead and like the podcast. And then if you're not a follower, click that follow button. All right, it's the only way we build up the people inside of the JP8 report is by building our numbers up. All right, but I would appreciate it. So with the funding our Ford, our feeding our Ford or something like that, it seems like not only Tim Waltz is involved in that investigation, people are concerned that, let me turn that, go back. What did Elian Omar know about the $1 billion welfare fraud case in her Minnesota district? Because it's saying in here that she knows, she held parties at some of the key restaurants named in the fraud, and that she knew people that were convicted, and that Omar even introduced a bill that led to $250 million in fraud. Yet she claims to have been completely unaware of it. So I may have to save this for tomorrow. I think I will, because I want to go back over this more with y'all. And then in the Texas scorecard, I was going to just go ahead and do this one. Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick, which is going to be speaking at the Coryell County Republican Party Lincoln Reagan dinner on February 21st, he made the suggestion that Texas should create its own version of President Trump's new child investment accounts, announcing the plan that the state should provide every Texas newborn with an additional $1,000 of publicly funded long-term savings beginning in 2027. I think he said there are 400,000 Texans born every year, and that would help propel them for future success after they turn 18. That is a really awesome deal. Now, The only problem is we have to be able to afford it, right? We have to, um, and then parents have to contribute to their kids' success also. So we have to remember that too. Uh, Abbott's office charges $25,000 for petition list after THC veto controversy. So, wow. Okay. And on December 4th, 1783, General Washington gathered his officers at a tavern in New York City about a month after the British evacuated New York City after the end of the Revolutionary War, and informed them of his plans to resign his commission and retire to civilian life. He was the commander-in-chief of the Continental Army for 8 years, right? And he's quoted as saying, few men have virtue to withstand the highest bidder, right? So that is a quote from General Washington. I think the deal about the additional $1,000 for Texan children, it's a really good idea. Less student loans to protect these kids. Give them a chance to succeed. And that stuff came from the Texas scorecard. Tonight there's a Lampasas County Republican Party Christmas dinner. So if you're in Coryell County or Bell County and you're listening to this and you know how to get to there, just go to my Coppers Cove Conservative Club Facebook post and you'll see the posting for it in there. Yesterday there was 22 new filers at the Republican Party of Texas. One additional one was for Kenneth Hype. And why do I know that name? But he filed for governor on the Republican primary. And then a new filer for Congressional District 31. That's William Abel. I actually know Mr. Abel. We both served in the Army. Not together, but he's a veteran. So these are the current ones. And I'll give you updates for today and tomorrow, and then on Monday. Monday's the last day for filing for the Republican and the Democrat primaries in Texas. Oh, and the Green Party and Libertarian also. All right. No chat questions. Let me look over here. We have, this is an ongoing investigation, but America should feel safe. We say pipe bomber is going too fast on this closed caption. Kash Patel is FBI speaks on DC pipe bomber as agents search suspect's home. Kash Patel's giving the briefing right now. All right, so don't forget to click follow and click like on the podcast. I would appreciate it. If you want to find me, these are my contacts here, right? And then go to YouTube if you can. Go to my channel there on YouTube, the JP8 Report 67. Subscribe. I checked this morning. I have 14 subscriptions on there, subscribers on there. I need 50 so I can live stream through there because, like I tell y'all, I simulcast from Rumble because Rumble's my base of operations. I do everything through Rumble. So I simulcast to Facebook, I simulcast to X, and I would like to try to do the same thing to YouTube, but they have that requirement of 50 subscribers. So I'm working to get that, and that would be great if we could do that. So if you can go over there, subscribe to the JP8 Report 67 and click subscribe and bail if you want. You don't have to watch it from there. Just let's get 50 subscribers so we can live stream through there. All right. But I appreciate everyone that actually watch today live, and we'll see what the numbers look like after and tomorrow morning when we look at them and stuff. But I really appreciate it. Check out what's going on with the briefing from the FBI. Looks like they're done with the briefing right now. All right. So, hey, this is James Pierce with the JP8 report. I will catch you on the flip side. I'm out.